Here, how are you, and happy February. This will be a larger call than we're accustomed to having because this is the first time that we have invited not only the normal monthly coaching people, but we've invited the private coaching people on as well. And the reason for that is the topic of conversation, number one, but number two, the fact that I wanted to share with the private clients what we're doing here on the monthly side and welcome them on board and let them know that from here on that they will be welcome to join in on these calls and partake in these discussions as an added value to what it is they're doing on the private side. Normally on the private calls we do get around to having these conversations, but they're not as structured as the monthly format is for the monthly people. And as I advise all of you, any and all of these calls, along with all the e-books and all the other webinars and everything that we've ever done, the white papers, all on the client side of the website. If you go to improvemytomorrowcoaching.com and you go into the tab that says Clients and click on any one of the buttons, it will ask you for your password. All of you should have a password by now, and if you don't, it's just as easy to email us and we'll give you the password. In fact, for now, the password into that site for all of you on the call right now is 11223344. And we will change this password on a regular basis as needed. Clearly, the only ones that should have this password are the people that are paying for the service. Now, I can't stop you from giving this password out or letting other people use it. But the challenge that you're going to have with that is why are you paying for something and giving it to somebody who's not paying it for it? They are not licensed to use the material, and as you well know, most of the things that we do here are part of the coaching program and have been copyrighted and belong only to those people that are paying for the service. So we don't want to run into any challenges with people using things that don't belong to them, and I certainly want people to be able to have access to the material that they're paying for. And this one call, the realtor call, we're going to go through because a lot of people have brought up that conversation, and it's been something that we need to discuss in a little bit of detail. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about in Realtor 101 is this will revert back to the sessions 6 and 7 in the group coaching modules. And if you've been through the group coaching program before, then modules 6 and 7 are the ones you're going to want to go back and look at for refresher information. If you haven't been through the group program, you'll realize that most of us have had these conversations, but that information is still there for you to use. So, like I said, it's on the website and it's available. But what we're going to do here is this is the precursor to a new and an exciting program that I put together with my good friend Terry Murphy. Those of you who have listened to the CDs and have been to events where Terry and I have spoke together, you know that Terry and I have worked together for more than 20 years now. She is a very dynamic speaker on the real estate side of the equation. She's a trainer and a coach in her own right and has her own program. And what Terry and I have observed over the last few months is the fact that both the real estate side and the mortgage side of the equation has done a very poor job explaining to both mortgage originators and realtors the state of the housing market and what they need to be doing to capitalize from these opportunities. So Terry and I have decided to put together a monthly call, and again, those of you who are already subscribers will have access to this absolutely free of charge. It'll be a monthly call. We're going to call it Lunch and Learns with Terry and Mike. And we're going to ask the mortgage people to invite a few of their realtors to each call, and we're going to ask our real estate friends to bring their mortgage professionals to the call. And we're going to share ideas. We're going to give information out and actually show, Terry and I, from both perspectives, how the information can be used together so that we really are working in a honest partnership in what we're trying to do to generate and convert opportunities. And so the first session in March is going to be about the topic that you guys have already seen, the white paper that will be published next week, called the new first-time home sellers program. And some of us have already discussed that. More details will be coming out, and the white paper will be published hopefully by the end of this week, beginning of next week, and it will be the feature of the first seminar. There'll be more about that. You'll get an email about that. You'll get an invitation and instructions on how to invite your realtor friends to this. So with that going, it's all pretty exciting stuff that's happening over here over Improve My Tomorrow. Improve My Tomorrow Coaching is here to help you, and it's here to really change the way that we approach not only realtor relationships, but our own relationship in the business. Today we're going to focus on realtors because we're going to get back to, as the title says, 101, basics, the things that we really should be doing, and some of the things that may have slipped in the cracks that we need to pull up and gear up and get connected to in a meaningful way, because we're approaching a housing market, and if we're not prepared for it, there are going to be transactions that we could have done that we're going to miss. So let's get started. What do realtors really want? So first things first, please let's get this correct. It's realtor. There is no second A. It's not realtor. It's not a sci-fi creature or anything else, although sometimes we may think that. It's realtor. Say it correctly, because to some of them, they take great offense to it being pronounced incorrectly. So it's a thing that I try to watch out for. It's a thing that I know pushes buttons on some realtors. It is something that I know that some find very offensive. Others mispronounce it themselves. But the point of the matter is, if we look at the logo and we read the word, it's realtor. So one of the things that we're going to start about with realtors is you'd better remember what I call the 5 C's. Your communication, your commitment, your consistency, the clarity, and the fact that the deal is closing. Each one of these is imperative. You must know how to communicate with your realtors. It is important to them that they know your communication schedule. Now, some of you confuse that with the fact that realtors want to be in touch with me 24/7. And we all know that that's not possible. The reality of this is by changing our voicemail, by explaining to our referral partners how and when we return our communications, they will understand the system. They will know what to expect. Because you need, again, the second C, commitment. You need to be committed to a process. If the realtor doesn't know what that process is, and if you're not clear what that process is, it lacks, and it shows lack of commitment to an outcome. We all know what that is: generating opportunities, putting together transactions, and closing loans. So you have to demonstrate your commitment, and the commitment is in the way of value. The commitment is in the way of sharing information. Commitment to the process and to those partnerships, those relationships, needs to be clear. They need to be able to see them. They need to be able to trust them. Consistency is something that we often lack. We're not consistent in our message. We're not consistent in our timing. And without consistency, there always is a little bit of uncertainty about what's happening. The more consistent that we can become, the more things happen on a regular, predictable schedule, the more comfortable everybody becomes with it, especially realtors. Clarity. Well, often this is confused with verbiage. I don't want a lot of words. I want things clear. I want them fundamental. I want them spelled out. For those of you who have been working with me for a while, we know that we have clear timelines. The realtors know that when you get a referral, they know exactly how you're going to handle that referral partner. Why? Because you've shared with them how your system works. They can count on the number of times you're going to call them, how you're going to communicate with them. They're aware of your system that says, when a client calls into me for the first time, this is what's going to happen. When I'm following up with a client for the first time, here's how I follow up. You know, one of the most important lessons that some of you have learned this year is the power of calling the realtor back and letting them know that the client has either not returned your phone call or is not responding to your request for information, and getting them engaged early so that they can get involved with that client to make sure that that client is doing what it is that they need to do. That clarity, that specific dynamic of the relationship that shows this is how we do this. Because without that, we get to the point of closing and closing ugly. And nobody wants to close ugly. Your closings should be smooth. They should be concise. They should happen exactly when they were supposed to, with no fuss, no muss, no bother. The people who develop long-term realtor relationships are the ones that are known for closing smooth, for closing pretty, for closing on time, for having the wire there and accounted for prior to the closing, for reviewing the HUD-1 3 days prior to the closing, for having your clear to close a week in advance of your closing. Those are the things that we strive for, because closing alone should be a celebration. It shouldn't be a drama-laced fire drill. These 5 C's, look at them and remember them and make sure you've worked them into your business. Because when you do, you will have developed a system that will pretty much take care of itself. Your clients will continue to come back to you. Your referral partners will continue to refer you. And not only will they refer you clients, they'll bring other referral partners to the table. Now let's take a look, because we often miss this, and I've talked about this a lot. And I want you to be clear that there are 2 sides to a realtor's business. They deal with buyers, but if not as important, maybe even more important, are the listing side of the equation. Now, we should have a clear message on what we do for the buyer side, and most realtors are very happy with what most mortgage people do when it comes to entertaining the buyers. They understand about pre-approvals. They understand about whatever your follow-up is. It's the listing side of things that they don't fully understand why and the wherefore of how it comes together. And even if you have realtors who are not willing to work with you on their listings, then you really need to bulletproof your buyer side of the transaction. And we're going to talk about this buyer side, and we're going to bulletproof the process on this buyer side, because if we do, there's a really good chance that that realtor will start sharing their listing side of the transaction, which will open you up to many, many more transactions that are easier to put together and generate a lot more referrals. So let's take a look at the buyer's side. What we need to do on the buyer side of our realtor's business is understand and convey the important part to the realtor that we want to collect everyone that they come in contact with, just not some of them. All of you have access to incubation systems. All of you have access to tools that if those people aren't ready to go today, they can be incubated in a very simple way that keeps them engaged and brings them back to you when they're ready. I want you collecting everyone. Don't let the realtor determine whether or not they think this person is ready to buy a home or worth working with. Whatever extra time you spend working with realtors that give you everything as opposed to the selected ones that they want, believe me, it's well worth it. The reason you want to do this is because realtors also will say, I didn't refer them to you because they had a pre-approval by XYZ Bank or this other company. get into the habit of reminding your realtors that you will pre-approve and you will certify already pre-approved buyers. Why? Because we don't know what somebody else did to generate that pre-approval. We don't know if they looked at a tri-merge credit report. We don't know if they looked at tax returns or W-2s or pay stubs or bank statements. We don't know the quality of that pre-approval. Many of you have seen, and I have heard from a number of realtors who have complained about deals blowing up at the closing table because people who were supposedly pre-approved and closings were scheduled were denied their loans. An interesting fact of the matter is, if you go, and I have a client in St. Louis, Missouri, almost 50% of all buy-side, of all purchase contracts fall apart. Almost 50%. Now, I don't know in each one of your areas what the pull-through rate is of people who go to contract. The scary part is you might not know that either. Your realtors may not know what the pull-through rate, how many contracts pull through, how many fall out. One of the reasons deals fall apart is because somebody doesn't do all the work. Somebody doesn't ask all the questions. Somebody doesn't certify that these people are pre-approved and they will close under the terms and conditions that you have laid forward. That's a huge deal in this particular market environment. And again, I spoke a little about it early, incubating those people who are not quite ready. There are many, many reasons why people aren't quite ready. We know that the qualification process has gotten a little more complicated. We also understand that the requirements change on a regular basis. People who were qualified to buy a month ago may not be qualified to buy this month because of change in a rule or a regulation. All we can do is prepare our people and understand the fact that while the rules may change, we're on top of those rules. And that incubation becomes critical. For those people on this call who started incubating people with me back at the very beginning of Path to Buy, we're all starting to see now, when you thought I was crazy about the people who were in short sale or foreclosure, that a couple of years ago when we started talking about this incubation process, those people are starting to come to the table. And they're ready, willing, and now even more importantly, able to buy. So it seemed like a crazy idea a couple of years ago isn't quite so silly now, because some of those people are coming to the table and they're able to do something. The other part about the buyer side is we need to make sure that we are staying on top of the people who are looking. The days of issuing a pre-approval and forgetting about that client are over. Again, those of you who have been through the process know with me, Thursday is pre-approval day. I don't care what's going on with your life. Every one of your pre-approvals gets contacted on Thursday, and you ask them a very simple question. Have you seen property this past weekend, and are you scheduled to see property this weekend? The first telltale sign that that buyer is slipping out of your control is when they're not seeing property. They can't buy a house if they don't see property. Now, one of the nuances here, what your realtors will love, is they will start telling you that they've seen property, and they will start describing the property, and you will find out that they're seeing property with an agent, not the one who referred you. Somehow, they're working with someone else. That's a golden time to, when you get off the phone, to call the agent that referred you this opportunity and say, I just spoke to so-and-so. They're seeing property without you. Now would be a really good time to touch base. It's also a good opportunity when you're sitting there and that person hasn't seen property and they're not scheduled to see property, to call that agent on the phone and say, I don't know what happened. Maybe these people have fallen between the cracks. But I just spoke to the Joneses, and they not only didn't see property last weekend with you, but they're not scheduled to see property this weekend with you. They're getting a little impatient. Is there something you can do? Is there anything you can show them? Could you schedule them to see before they make the choice to go someplace else? You can become invaluable to your realtor referral partners by having a better and more efficient and effective follow-up system than they do. Because on the buyer side, you can generate new opportunities. And what do I mean by that? Very few people buy a home in a vacuum. They have friends, they have family members who are watching this process. They're engaged in this process. And they're seeing how things work out. If it works out well, and it works out comfortably, chances are the people involved in that transaction are going to see a great deal of repeat business. If people don't follow up and if they don't follow through and it goes poorly, any chance of getting in front of those new opportunities disappears. The reality of it is both the realtor and the mortgage professional are responsible for the number of opportunities generated from each transaction, because none of these transactions happen in a vacuum. They all have friends, they all have family members, they all have people around them that either are going to want to do the same thing or in the process of doing the same thing and would like their transaction to turn out as well as the one you just completed. On the seller side, we need to be engaged with our realtors to provide information on that particular property. Home finance guides. If we're not taking our realtor's listing and we're not providing information on the cost of purchasing that property, then we're doing a disservice not only to our realtors but to ourselves. Because people who come in who have finance information, who have something memorable to take with them from the property, even if they don't buy that house, may contact you to do their loan or come back to you to refer to that realtor to find another property. Because if they walk out with something tangible, there's a much greater likelihood that they will call you. The other thing that we're not doing is we're not pre-approving our listings for their next purchase. I don't understand why that doesn't happen every time. Clearly, that realtor can't sell and close on that house if our sellers aren't able to move out. How would you like to have a client 60, 90, 120 days prior to them having to make application and getting a chance to pre-approve them, to look at their credit, to look at their circumstances, to make sure that if there are any challenges, any issues, anything that they could improve, you'd have that extra time to make them bulletproof going on to their next purchase. We talk about it at great length in the 2% solution. You can save these people a tremendous amount of money by making sure that they are absolutely as good a borrower as they can possibly be for their next transaction. And oh, by the way, it's amazing how you can help them with their price negotiations. You know, some of the toughest challenges that a realtor has is with their listings, getting them to adjust their price down if the house isn't selling. Well, imagine if you've already had the conversation and pre-approved them for their next home. They're thinking, I have to come down $5,000 or $10,000 in price to negotiate the sale of my house. You being the calming influence on the other side, taking the emotion out of it, and showing them that $5,000 or $10,000 when it comes to this particular transaction may just be pennies on their next purchase. Because delaying buying their next home can really cost them money, because the price of the house that they're going to buy may go up, and as we've seen lately, interest rates can go up. That $5,000 or $10,000 price negotiation almost becomes meaningless in the big picture, because ultimately the person wants to sell their house and move on to the next one. And the only thing they're really going to reflect on is not what they sold their house for, not how much money they got for it. It's going to be, I moved into my new home and this is what it cost me. Sometimes waiting for that extra $5,000 or $10,000 can cost you tens of thousands over the long run, because the price of the house you were going to buy went up and the interest rate on the money that you needed to use to finance it went up. The other thing we have to do on the seller side is help find a buyer. How do we do that? Well, we're going to get the neighbors involved in the search. If we're not out there canvassing the neighborhood, letting the neighbors know that that property is for sale, how are they going to tell us that they have somebody interested in buying? More importantly, how are you going to find out that somebody else in that neighborhood is interested in either selling or refinancing their current home? You see, people don't often come to the conclusion themselves that now's a great time to sell a home or buy another one. Lord knows if you look at any of the media, you'd know that this would never happen, because everybody's telling you what big a problem that there is. Meaningful open houses. Please don't get involved in an open house if you're not really going to engage in the process. If you're not going to collect real, meaningful information of the people that arrive, if you're not going to invite the neighbors, if you're not going to leave something for the seller, letting them know that you were there and you were helping sell their home, if you're not going to fully engage in an open house, please don't bother. Because there's far too many open houses that are done just for the sake of doing them with no intent. There needs to be a focus of your open house. You need to get out there and get the neighbors involved. You need to drive people to the open house. You need to be helpful while it's going on and collect meaningful information. Because if you're not collecting real names, addresses, and phone numbers and email addresses, if you allow them to put Mickey Mouse on the sign-up sheet, if you're not doing something in earnest to collect real information, then you're really just wasting your time. You're going through the motions, but you're not pulling out every meaningful opportunity. You have to use the find the pain theory that we've created for your opportunity to gain. And we've talked about this on the CD set. We've talked about it in the realtor section. We've talked about it a little bit here. All of you are aware of the Finding the Pain letter. It's something that you can use to approach realtors every day. It basically asks, are your current lending relationships doing this for you? We talked a little bit helping with price reductions. We talked about locating new listing opportunities. We've talked about finding new buyer opportunities. We've talked about incubating those who aren't ready to act. I've explained to you the importance of being connected with those who are out there, and the fact that we need to have a real client relationship management system that generates value. And the point is if you're not plugged into all these different things, if it's not part of your process as we've discussed, then you need to go back to the CDs, you need to go back to the information, and you need to listen and learn about doing the things that it takes to make sure that this is a real result. And you keep saying, well, why am I pushing so hard on the listing side? Well, what you're going to find out is it's 8 to 10 times more likely that you're going to generate a transaction from the listing side than you ever on the buyer side. I know this sounds like an awful lot of work, and I know getting past the realtor to get this started takes some energy. But once you do, it becomes a windfall. They'll never list a house again without you. Now, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that your targets are their targets. Every time you have a chance, if you're involved in first-time home buyers and renters, get your realtors involved. If you're involved with a group or association, Get them involved when you're involved. Most importantly, connect the connections. I speak a great deal about finding the value-added propositions for your database. We talk about Merchant of the Month. We talk about working things like bridal shows and meeting all these new people and collecting all these people in our database and being the conduit from all the value to all the people and then back again. Huge databases of people. Bridal shows can generate hundreds of new opportunities. When you take a few hundred opportunities and you spread them out over 25 or 30 different product or service providers, now you're talking thousands and thousands of joint opportunities. When you're talking for you and your realtor, you being at this stage of the transaction gets you very early. You get to control that transaction. You get to deliver those people to your realtors. If you were delivering more opportunity to your realtors than your realtors were sending to you, do you think you'd ever be in competition for that realtor's business? The answer is no. The things that we talked about and the things that we have shared, the things that are being implemented by some of you, and some that could be implemented better by most of you, can help generate this ongoing stream of referrals. Because at the end of the day, the person who sits in the center of the referral triangle is the one that controls the relationship and gets to pick and choose how they work and who they work with. You need to be paying attention to these, and whether it be first-time home buyer seminars, whether it's your groups and associations, whether it's your consumer direct marketing efforts, whatever it is, every time you network, every time you find a new person, it's a new opportunity for you and your realtor partner. And now, let's take a look at the realtor side of things. And it's as simple as ABC. We have to have a system. We have to have a system. We have to know how to manage the people. And this is where a lot of people get confused, and this is where a lot of people have an issue. And I'm going to this part because this is the thing that I think we have to focus on and get our mind around. How many do we need? Well, it's the ABC process, and I've shared this with all of you, and we'll go through it again. And this time, hopefully, you'll see the connections for those of you who haven't made the connection. And we're going to show how to actually implement this in a meaningful way. Our A realtors are the ones that refer you everyone. Whatever you ask them to do, they're doing it. They have no apprehension whatsoever. If you ask for their listings, they give you their listings. Everybody that comes by them, they give you their information. They're happy to go. Your B realtors are the ones that only refer you occasionally, or they give you just their buyers. They don't ever let you talk to their sellers. Or they give you, you're one of the people that, that are in their group, they don't think it matters much, so only if somebody asks specifically for a mortgage person, they'll give out your card as opposed to just giving it to everybody that they see. Your C realtors are the people that either refer you sporadically, or they're the group of people who are your targets. You're approaching these people, you're not doing business with them, but they're on your radar and you're trying to get them to learn about who you are and what you're doing. These are the three categories by which all your realtors need to fall into. What do I need? Well, I suggest to my new people, keep it simple. Work on having 5 A's, 10 B's, and 20 C realtors. If you need a mix or a blend, think of this as a starting point. We want to have 5 A realtors, the people that give us everything. We'd like to have 10 B realtors, the ones that give us stuff occasionally. And we'd like to have 20 realtors in our queue that are giving us sporadic business, or the ones that we're trying to approach and move them up the ladder to either a B or an A. Well, why is that? Well, it's a mathematical formula about how you can control your time and how you can control your efforts. And think of it this way. The A realtors are your all-stars or your starters on your team. Okay? The B people are your bench people. They're good, but they're not the people that you rely on every day. And the C people are your minor leagues. It's where your talent comes from so that you can begin to play the game. Now, we're thinking of this as a sports team, and the A's, B's, and C's give you the understanding of how the caliber of people are. But some of you don't have A's, B's, and C's. Well, just like in the game, you have to field the team. It doesn't matter the caliber of your players. You may not have any A's. You may not have enough B's. The reality of this is it's very simple. If you don't have enough A's, then double up on your B's. If you don't have enough B's, then double up on your C's. And that's what we normally do with brand new loan officers. We get them going out there and talking to everybody. Now let me give you an example. If you look at your sheet and you draw it out and you only had 3 A's, then your goal would be, I'd need 14 B's. Well, why would I need 14? Well, I normally need 10 B's, and I'm going to need 4 more to replace the 2 A's that I don't have. If I only had 3 A's and 8 B's, then I'd need 32 C's. Why? Because I have to double up on the A's and then double up on the B's. If you're just starting out, if we double everything, then we'd have a total of 60 agents. If I don't have a relationship with anybody, then I'm just going to pick 60 agents, and I'm going to put them into this formula, this schedule, and what's going to happen is as they start referring me, my C's will become B's and my B's will become A's, and some of the C's will just disappear, and I will find new people. So how do I do that? Well, you need a schedule. Just like a team, just like a baseball team knows its schedule, you're going to pick 1 day a week that you plan on visiting your realtors. Now, you can do 2 if you'd like, but you have to have a minimum of 2 hours to go out and visit them. Because, again, this cannot be just about phone call and email. Physical presence is key. And I don't care whether they're there or not. You do not have to set an appointment. You just need to go where their office is. And I'll explain more about that in a minute. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to divide them into groups, equal groups. Now, remember what I said. My A people I want to visit every week. My B people I want to visit every 2 weeks, and my C people I want to approach once a month. Remember how I had it broken down, A's, B's, and C's. There are twice as many B's as there are A's, and there's twice as many C's as there are B's. And at the end of the day, if I don't have A's or B's, then I'm going to have 60 realtors in my C pile. So what happens? My A group always remains my A group. My B group gets divided equally in half to B1 and B2. And my C group gets divided into 4 equal pieces, C1, C2, C3, and C4. And you put them on a 4-week schedule, which means I'm going to go out and visit all my A's, the B1 group, and the C1 group. If we have a 5, 10, 20 balance, then what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to visit 5 A's, 5 B's, and 5 C's, which would be a total of 15 people. If I don't have, let's say I only have my C's, I would have 60 C's, ergo they would only be 15 C's in group C1, and I'd visit those 15 people. The result would be I would be visiting my A's every week, I would be visiting my B's every 2 weeks, and I'd be visiting my C's every 4 weeks. No matter how you work your groups, you're visiting no more than 15 people in a day. But the point is if you don't have a written plan, if you don't have it on your schedule, if you don't write in the time, it won't happen. because it's just a fact that the first thing we do when we get busy is throw prospecting under the bus. And what happens when we're dealing with realtors? When we stop visiting, they think we stopped caring. Now, there are 4 simple rules for these realtor visits. There's only 4 of them. Number 1, always visit between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. In some places, they may have sales meetings at certain times of the day or certain functions that they do together. You may find certain days of the week work better for some people than for others. The reality of it is the hours between 10 and 3, prime time visiting. And again, I don't care if they're there or not, and I don't need you to make an appointment in advance. Chances are they won't, even if they make an appointment, be there. Realtors will cancel appointments almost as frequently as mortgage people will cancel appointments. The key is you need to be consistent as you can be with both the days and the times that you go to visit. They should be able to set their watch or at least their daily calendar to know that you visit on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays, whatever day you're visiting. You should always leave a physical reminder. Never, ever, ever go to a realtor's office knowing full well that it's not likely they're going to be there without an envelope in your hand with their name on it with some sort of printed material, whether it be my blog from the week before, whether it be an article from the MBA, whether it be something you took off of the NAR website. It doesn't matter to me. Always have something printed and in writing that you can leave for them. That way, if they're not there, you have walk-in. You don't have to be humiliated by a receptionist. I'm here to see Rachel Realtor. Rachel's not here. Great. Could you just leave this for her? Thank you very much. Now, you walk out of the door, you get to your car, you pick up the phone, and you call Rachel Realtor. Hey, I was just driving by your office. Sorry I missed you. I left something with the receptionist for you to take a look at. Hope you find it important and valuable. Give me a call later. And then you hang up the phone, and you're off to your next appointment. Always make the phone call from the parking lot. Because if they're not there, you need to let them know that you were. Always be asking. This should go without saying, but you would be amazed at how infrequently this happens. The most important 9 words you can ever say are, who did you meet that I need to contact? If you're not asking your realtors these questions, you're leaving it to them to remember. Now, if you prefer 10 words, you could soften it up and say, who do you know that I need to speak with? Up to you. You could come up with your own combination of 9 or 10 word sentences. Either way, you always need to be asking, because this is the one thing we do not do. This is the one flaw that amongst all flaws are the fact that if you do not ask, you're leaving it up to your agent to remember to refer you. And that is a problem, because there may be many people that they would have been happy to have given you that slip their mind, fall between the cracks, they forget about because they get involved with the next thing. The phone rings and it's gone. They're ready to pick up the phone and call you with their referral. Somebody else calls. Somebody wants to go see one of their listings. Next thing you know, they're off and running, and you never get that phone call. Cannot let it go at that. You must be in control. Always be asking. If you're not asking, you're missing opportunities. Targeting realtors. Hey, do your homework before you go out there. If you have existing realtors, then ask them to bring new realtors to your fold. Ask them to set up a coffee or a lunch with somebody. If you have the opportunity, then run through Realtor.com or NeighborCity.com and collect important information about the people you're going to go see. Whether you're seeing them cold or somebody refers you, look them up. If a realtor is doing business in a certain market, in a certain area, go to Realtor.com, plug in the zip code or the town, put in the price range that you want to be doing business, and see if any of the listings that are currently available belong to that realtor. The nice thing about Realtor.com is if you come across a target agent's listing, on the right-hand side of the website, you'll see all their other listings right there for you to look at. If you go to NeighborCity.com, you can go to NeighborCity.com, you can plug in the information, and there it will rank every realtor in number order from who they think is the best realtor, who they think is the worst realtor. If you're in a hurry, you can just go to Google, and you can Google search Neighbor City, and then the realtor's name, and it'll take you right to their Neighbor City page. And it'll tell you how many transactions they closed last year, how many listings they currently have. It'll give you their average sales price. It'll do all those things for you. Heck, just Google search the realtor and see if something comes up. But please know something about these people before you go visit. Don't always be in a spot where you're believing 100% of what they're telling you. Realtors will either oversell themselves to people they don't know, or they will undersell themselves to people they don't know to feel you out. Imagine if you've done your homework. Imagine if you know about their listings. Hey, I saw that listing you had over on 123 Main Street. What a great property that is if you had a lot of activity on that. I saw on Neighbor City's website they got you ranked as the #7 agent in your marketplace. That's pretty great out of 84 people. Whatever it is, you can share that you've done some due diligence, you've made a little bit of an effort, and maybe more importantly, put a little background information in your head to find out, is this person that you know is one thing, starts talking about as if they are something else. The reality of it is do your homework. It takes a few minutes to prepare yourself before you go out. Take a little bit of time, make a little bit of investment in some knowledge before you engage in that conversation. Work the other side. For those of you who are not working the other side of your purchase contracts, you're missing a huge opportunity. The listing agent on the other side. Here are some important milestones. You should contact that agent upon contract. Introduce yourself and give them the old appraisal preparation. In other words, hey, we don't control the appraisal. The appraisal has been ordered. They're going to contact you to set up the appointment. Please, if you haven't heard from the appraisal company within 48 hours to set the appointment, could you please call me back and let me know so that we can go through channels to try to find out what happened. Secondly, please have together all the comparables that you used to establish the listing price on this property that you negotiated for this transaction. Because I'd rather you have that information available when the appraiser shows up to give to them, because it's a lot easier for them to have their value created in their mind before they come up with a final price than it is for you to try to change their mind once they've established a price. Number 2, submission. Status report and anticipated clear to close. Hey, Rachel Realtor, just checking in. Wanted to let you know we're moving right along for that Jones file. We've been submitted to underwriting. Our turnaround times are pretty good. We should have an answer on this loan by such and such a time. We anticipate getting our clear to close by this date. The next one is your clear to close. Confirm the closing. We got the clear to close. We're 10 days away from our closing date. Isn't it great? It's 10 days prior to closing. We're clear to close and we're ready to go. And we're just going to confirm with you to confirm with the the sellers and the buyers. This can happen anytime you need it to happen. HUD-1 review and wire confirmation. Hey, Rachel Realtor, just wanted to let you know we reviewed the final HUD-1 with the borrower. Everything's good to go for a closing on Thursday. I'll call and let you know when I get the wire confirmation. Obviously, you call them when the wire confirmation comes through. At the closing, either you attend it or you don't. Either way, send a physical thank you. Hey, Rachel Realtor, it was great working with you on this transaction. I really enjoyed it. It went really smooth. We look forward to doing this again. Send a physical note. And then a week later, after closing, about the same time, as they'll probably be seeing their commission check from that transaction, call and set an appointment to come talk to them about doing business together. Use all of this plan or some of this plan, but you must have a plan. If you're not scheduling these things the day your loans come in, and if you're not placing them on the calendar, what happens is you're spending time thinking about what you're supposed to be doing next, as opposed to doing what you're supposed to be doing next. You sit at the very beginning of your loan, set your own date on these. It keeps you in line, or set your own schedule and remind yourself that when these landmarks, these important milestones happen, one of the things I must do is contact the agent on the other side to let them know how well things are going. They don't get that from average people, but you are not average. Realtors just want to close deals smoothly. They just want to close their deals smoothly. Surefire ways to make sure that this happens. You don't want to be a problem. You want to be the solution. Tell the truth. If you can't tell the truth, then say nothing. Do not create a story. Do not lie. Whenever you have an opportunity, underpromise and overdeliver. If you know for a fact that you're submitting a file in today and it should go through your underwriting and it should be through tomorrow afternoon, well, then tell them, I will have an answer to you, not tomorrow afternoon, Thursday morning, 11 o'clock, we'll have your answer. Everything goes the way it's supposed to, and you at 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon you have it, you can always call it Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock. Hey, Rachel Realtor, the approval came through a little early. I know I promised 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, so we're a few hours ahead of schedule. Just wanted to let you know we're cleared to close. Off we go. Underpromise, overdeliver. By all means, do not add to the drama. Communication does not mean puffing yourself up to look good because there is some sort of minor challenge that you're going to correct. Chances are, if there's drama in the file, you may have been the one that created it by not having your file right in the first place or failing to ask a question. You know, it's sort of like the arsonist who's also a firefighter. Setting fire to a building so that you can show up and put it out and be a hero is not exactly the way you want to run things. Many times, them not knowing that there was any drama at all in the file is the best thing you can do. So don't add drama to the deal. If the other realtor is an idiot, if the client is a jerk, if you're having trouble in these other things, that's your problem. It's not their problem. Chances are they already know. You need to be the stabilizing influence. And you do that by setting the proper expectations. At the very beginning, set the proper expectations. If you lay out what's going to happen to your clients, to your realtor referral partners, you show them a timeline, you tell them the truth, you deliver exactly what you say when you're going to say it or earlier. If things are always better, if the result is always better than what you promised, you're going to have more business than you know what to do with. At the end of the day, it is your job to be the solution, not the problem. It is your job to make it go. It is your job to live up to the expectations that you have created. If you create false expectations, you have nobody to blame but yourself. You set the right expectations and you deliver on those promises, you will have business as much and for as long as you want. You know, Terry and I put together the Golden Partnership CDs a long time ago, and I know all of you have copies of them. The reality of this is Terry and I have been speaking, and we're going to be starting something in March. And we're going to invite all of you to participate. It won't be of any cost to you. It's going to be something that we have set up, and they're going to be called Lunch and Learns with Terry and Mike. And we're going to be doing these lunch and learns once a month. And every mortgage professional who's in the coaching program and every realtor who's in Terry's coaching program will be invited to attend these lunch and learns where Terry and I will cover a topic. The first topic that we're going to cover in March is going to be the First-Time Home Sellers Program, the white paper of which will be published by the end of this week. You'll all get a copy. It's a spin-off on the Golden Partnership. Some of us in the private side of coaching have discussed this a little bit. Some of you have even started going down that path and have already started seeing results, I'm proud to say. So Terry and I are going to set up a monthly webinar, and again, it's going to be a evaluated proposition to anybody who's in coaching. Every month you'll get an invitation to come to the webinar. There will be a way for you to send us the names and email addresses and contact information for any number, 3 to maybe 5 realtors that you would like to invite to the Lunch and Learn for free. Those realtors can come to the Lunch and Learn. They can participate in the process, and if they so choose, they will get firsthand instruction on how to work better with you in the program that we have designed together to execute. If they would like to enter the private coaching program or they would like to enter a mentorship program with Terry, there will be a program at a special price that they can enter. One of the things that will be a result will be these calls. Just like I have private coaching and a monthly call to my clients, Terry has the same situation on the realtor side. The reason we're doing this is so many realtors and so many mortgage professionals are missing or not getting the information about how great this market is gearing up to be. And we're kind of alarmed that there isn't more activity being spent on educating the realtors and the mortgage professionals of how good the market really is right now. So Terry and I have decided to put ourselves together. And the other reason for it is Terry has a lot more realtors in her program than I have mortgage professionals in mine, and it's simply because there are a lot more realtors in this world than there are mortgage professionals. Some of those realtors that we've come to know over time have complained that they don't have mortgage professionals in their area that are like-minded to this way of thinking. Well, that all ends next month. We have already started connecting like-minded realtors with mortgage professionals who will do business according to these systems. They will deliver on these promises. So look forward for that email and understand here at Improve My Tomorrow Coaching, what I'm trying to do is provide you with the tools necessary to go out and generate these relationships and make them very powerful by generating and creating value to both your referral partners and to your clients. And one of the ways that I do that is providing value to you. You guys pay a lot of money for coaching. You have access. You see we've made major changes in the website. We've opened up the client side to make it easier. We're producing more products. We're going to have ongoing coaching and training for your referral partners to help them. This will be the first. We hopefully will set up things with attorneys and financial planners and accountants down the road. But for right now, the biggest hurdle is mastering the realtor relationship. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to you guys participating. Questions or comments, guys, you can always go to the website, ImproveMyTomorrowCoaching.com. If you use the client section, Again, all the documents, e-books, white papers, they're all there. If you don't have a password, you can contact me and I'll make sure you get one. It's Michael at ImproveMyTomorrowCoaching.com. The reality of it is right now the password is 11223344 just to get yourself started. But if you don't send us an email, I can't put you on the email list to update your password. For those of you involved in the group program, I appreciate your loyalty to the program. For those of you who are private clients, I hope you found this extra value presentation something that you can use and worth your time. I'm looking forward to the future with the additional programs that we're going to bring to the table, and I value your input. So please, once again, my sincerest appreciation to all of you for making this program possible. For those of you who are on the monthly call, for those private clients, here's the schedule. All the calls are at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The next call on the group call will be March 19th. Again, all these will be on the website. And this particular call will be on the website, downloaded and there by tomorrow. So if you want to replay it or see anything that's on there, we'll go from there. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for your participation.